Welcome back, everyone. I am Justine Tindall with Sandler Training, and this is another episode of the Sales Leaders Playbook podcast. Today, we have a very special guest. This is Susan Richards. She's a financial strategist and an entrepreneur with over 25 years in Ontario's tech sector. And she's best known as co-founder and CEO of Numbercrunch, where she helps various SaaS and tech companies scale through outsourced financial operations. So having supported nearly 100 startups as a CFO and advisor, she is known for turning financial challenges into growth opportunities. As a recipient of the Order of Ottawa 2022 and a fellow of the Chartered Professional Accountants of Canada, she also advocates for diversity, innovation, and mental health through board roles with organizations like the Institute of Mental Health Research, Invest Ottawa, and Sheboot. So, welcome, Susan. Happy to have you.
Thank you. I'm honored to be here. This is looking forward to it.
Thank you. Well, you got over 25 years of experience, but can you take us back to the beginning? What's the story of how you got started, and what was your first real sale?
Well, fair. So Numbercrunch was launched about a dozen years ago. And for 2 years before that, I had left full-time CFO work. So I had been an employee in the CFO level for over a decade, and then started doing fractional CFO work, which is essentially independent contractors into organizations. But every time I went in, I saw that there was a cleanup that needed to be done. So software migration, modernization, more efficient operational flow like we handle. I oversee as a fractional CFO the finance function, so finance and accounting inside an organization. And so the premise was, if I had a team of, and this is myself and my co-founder, who was also an independent contractor, if we had a team surrounding us, we'd be able to help more organizations and limit our time to the senior advisory, forward-looking strategy side of things. So that was the birth of Numbercrunch. I actually thought it was a creation of bringing accountants and bookkeepers together. And I hypothesized it was going to be a challenge to help people understand this new form of organization. People were used to bookkeeping companies and they were used to accounting firms, but we were a hybrid of the two. So we were that combination of accounting and bookkeeping and record keeping and operations that would be able to be the one-stop shop for business owners to understand, to support them through growth. So back in the early days, it was just a matter of having conversations. Since I was known locally in a fractional CFO capacity, I did get inbound through LinkedIn mostly, requests for CFO work. And then through the conversations, I saw that the requirements actually weren't just for CFO. It was to provide that fractional CFO controller bookkeeper combo. So that's how we started. And, arguably that hasn't changed much. We've matured, but the offer and the pain point that we're solving is quite pretty much the same as it was a dozen years ago.
Awesome. Cool. Exciting. Okay. So, all right, that's what happened then. But when you look at your business today, what does growth mean to you? Is it about revenue? Is it about market share, team size, or something else? What's growth mean to you?
Yes, thank you for that question, because it has changed. I'd say 2026, my theme is enterprise value. This is what I'm preaching to clients, and practice what you preach, put your money where your mouth is. So it's beyond. Certainly, revenue growth is a factor. But revenue growth is without profitability increase, and profit increase on its own can also indicate some long-term value is being discounted. And headcount growth is no longer a solid metric. It's more of a vanity metric because of the AI showing up. So we all want to be more efficient. So today it's enterprise value, growing that, which is a little less public facing. Enterprise value in an organization is a little less ego, more humble, more focused on productivity and effectiveness, and at the end of the day, creating a business enterprise that can be transitioned, so founders can actually yield a strong result at the end of their career.
So revenue, obviously a huge factor. Okay, but what is your vision for sales in the next 3 to 5 years? Like in the next
Uh,
3 years, 4 years, 5 years, what does that look like?
Yeah, it's multifaceted. So what we've realized is because we created something new that didn't really exist, it makes it difficult for people to understand how to search for us. They don't necessarily translate the pain point they're having, which may be financial worries, cash flow concerns, into something where our business would be discovered online. So we rely on referral. So, our business has been driven by client referral, by ecosystem referral, so accounting firms and bankers and investors. And then there's the adjacent service referrals, so businesses that also serve our client base that understand the type of services that we offer and refer us. So I see over the next 3 to 5 years, ensuring we have programs in place to really nurture each of those channels and enable them to help us sell and essentially ensure that more companies become aware of the solution that we have in the market.
Okay. So, all right. Yeah. Because a referral is, that's the best way to grow a business. And the fact that you're getting referrals, that speaks a lot to your value. But in terms of, what would you say outside of the referral? Though that's very important. What's working best for generating new leads now? And how is that different, would you say?
Well, these are the challenges that we have. So, we're very new. I would say we're at startup level, even though it's a 12-year-old business. We're at the startup phase when it comes to our own sales maturity. Now, that's different than the role that I've played in dozens of companies where I'm working alongside a more mature sales effort, especially in the tech sector, where often the money that's brought into the organization is going to be deployed for customer acquisition. So it is marketing and sales activity that's happening. And I see how these organizations need to beef up as achieve each milestone. From the start, grow, ramp, scale, each of those levels requires a different level of maturity, and depending on whether they're selling into enterprise or small medium businesses or straight to consumer, those are much different processes. From our standpoint, we're in the midst of our website overhaul so that we're more discoverable, and then we'll be talking to people more at the early entry stage where we're explaining how we compare to full-time hires, which I would say is the biggest competitor that we have today, or when business owners start with one person in an accounting department, and really they need to get to 3 before they're going to have that strong value. So our ability to get in front and pitch and take them through the process of qualifying the sale, ensuring that they have the buying capacity, and understanding that what that trigger point is. So often when we're introduced, it's because there's a current pain point. But business owners have an ongoing, it's a bit like of a seasonal allergy to the finance function throughout the year. But often the pain point is when they run out of cash or when somebody quits. So there's some sort of triggering event that can enable us to be able to have that opportunity to come to the table and pitch.
Awesome. And I'm sure there's going to be a lot of those come in the coming next months, right?
hmm
Yeah, totally. All right. So every business has a messy middle. Can you share a time
Mm.
when a deal or a hire or a strategy or, a plan didn't go as planned? And what did you learn from it?
Yes, always learning. So, because it's referral based, now we have a very high close ratio, 80% close ratio, but that means 20% don't close favorably. So there's always an opportunity to learn. I think hesitation, not being bullish enough, not assuming, not really putting all the energy and effort, which translates into a consistent message, a story that's relatable. So the more conviction that we have, we're still founder led when it comes to sales. And when we don't have the conviction behind the sale, it shows. I think it often is the deals that don't close that end up going elsewhere, or they decide not to proceed and they stay status quo. It's because we haven't had that full energy behind what we're conveying as far as problem solutions.
Hmm. Okay. And all right. So, and when you look ahead to the next 12 to 12, 24 months, maybe that is in consideration, but what would you say is the biggest growth transformation opportunity in your business, in your world, maybe in other businesses that you're working with? And what would you say is the biggest risk?
Mm. Well, I certainly think for us, it's consistent storytelling. It's getting that message out and actually telling the story, ensuring that we're taking every opportunity to make sure people are aware that we're here, what it is we offer, and how it relates to them. So, another learning for me is for a dozen years, I didn't tell stories, and primarily that was because we're in a confidential business. And so I felt these were not my stories to tell. But I was at a storytelling workshop, and the wonderful presenter reminded us that stories are in service and they actually don't have to be true. The just like the movies, it could be based on a true story, but I could change the facts in order to tell that story in a way that serves the prospect and serves our business, obviously, without it actually being a true story. So that's almost embarrassing for me to admit, but that will be a skill that will be practiced over the next number of months. Also building out the formality of our playbook. So making sure that what we have is repeatable and that other people, so that we can grow beyond founder-led sales
Yeah.
into being able to ramp up a sales force to support us.
Awesome. Well, that being said, that actually was going to be my next question. Like,
Yeah.
how do you approach sales effectiveness training and development, both for yourself as founder-led sellers, but for those that are also going to be in some type of client-facing business development role?
Yes. Well, I say, I need to come back on the podcast and let you know how we're doing it as we build it out. Now, at this point, it's a matter of design. I'm focusing on our ICPs, ideal customer personas, ensuring that what we're presenting is adapted to who they are and how they may receive the information. But as far as tactics, that's still to come. We definitely will need help with that. And I won't trust that it will just happen intuitively. I know sales is a whole expertise and profession that's I don't want to learn from my own mistakes. I want to make sure I'm leveraging others. And
Absolutely.
I've seen what goes wrong. So this is again the benefit of being able to be a fractional CFO in organizations. I see those that are ad hoc about it. It's very expensive to incur sales mistakes, sales resources. It takes time for people to ramp up, and if you get it wrong or are ineffective, the opportunity cost is huge.
Totally. It's not a soft skill. It's a
Mm,
duplicatable, transferable, process, checklist driven, process. So the fact that you're recognizing these things, that's huge, right? That's huge. A lot of companies that are even growing, they'll hire people and they still treat it, they don't have a process to it.
mm,
And those hired, the mistakes are costly. So
yes.
you're absolutely right. We see it all the time. I hope that doesn't happen to you, but you're absolutely right. Yeah. All right. So, okay. Well, that said, when you do hire, or when you are planning on, or when you have
Mhm.
a salesperson, like what do you find are some of the greatest challenges that you've experienced so far?
Yeah, so I think being first of all ignorant. I think not quite understanding the difference between roles like business development and account reps and sales management and sales strategy. They're as nuanced in sales as they are in finance. So I have a huge appreciation for finance and accounting and how nuanced these expertise and backgrounds are. So I feel it's the same from a sales standpoint in ensuring that I am not overlooking the nuances to that. Um, and then I stage it properly. This is where leveraging third party organizations to come in and do for sales, um, helping like bring in people that have the experience that can help us set up the frameworks will be really key and critical. Is that along the lines of like, I want to make sure I'm getting the
Totally,
answering the
yeah.
question
I
right? Yeah.
mean,
Okay.
these
Yeah.
are all things that it doesn't matter who, like you're juggling everything. So like,
Yes.
like
Yes.
that's it. Like when hiring
Yeah.
a salesperson, there's tons of gaps. They like we talked about before. They look good on a resume. They look
Yes.
good for an interview. But when the rubber hits the asphalt and they have to actually go out to do sales behavior, are they actually going to do it? Or
Yes.
is it going to be constant pushback? Are you constantly feel like you're going to be big brother watching over them? How are you going to track them? How are you going to rely on data rather than just happy ears or their perception? That call went great. Oh,
Yes.
definitely going to close. And then 6 months down the line, there's nothing there. So there's a whole bunch of steps that can really be challenging if not documented and properly forecast. And
Oh
this
yeah,
all
you
means
are revving me up because now the first 100 days is key. Ensuring also upon hiring that they have a plan coming into the organization, and that's already part of what the hiring is. I have a problem in that I see the potential in people. That's a wonderful gift for dinner parties, but horrible gift when you're relying on people to perform quickly and be effective. I can't afford to take too long. So I do want them to have a plan and be able to demonstrate that they're executing against it in a very short cadence. So weekly updates as opposed to monthly updates, so that we can detect if it's off track sooner than later. Because as you pointed out, resumes all look good these days, and salespeople are brilliant in an interview. I'm typically used to hiring people in the finance and accounting field, not necessarily starlights when it comes to interviewing, great characters. But the sales polish that comes across can really um, uh, fool an unsuspected business owner too.
not uncommon. It happens in
Yeah.
small, medium, all the way up to Fortune 500 companies. These are common challenges. So you're definitely not alone there, right? And we see it all the time.
Yes.
So
Yeah, and that other
yeah,
problem I want to point out too is when you have someone that's really strong, especially in an enterprise sale, and then decide that maybe they can be the manager, and often those skill sets don't transfer over, so there's a problem. I'm aware of those things, and I hope I don't fall prey to those same challenges that I do see happen within my clients. Sometimes that I'm surprised that they were very successful as a sales executive, and not successful as a sales manager or director.
totally. It happens all the time. You'll have someone who is a rock star individual contributor, individual producer. So because of that, they're now promoted to a management role, and they far too often they completely bomb.
Mm,
Not because they're not smart, not because they're not trainable, not because they're whatever. It's because managing people versus managing yourself is a completely different ballgame. And the bottom line is there's just not a lot of management, especially sales management training. There's a lot of sales training, but there's not a
yes.
lot of sales management training. So forgive, and that's important. So leaders, listen up. If you're planning on promoting someone who's an individual to a contributor to a management role, if they don't go through management training, because you're dealing with people's emotions, their anxieties, their values,
Mm,
skills gaps, know-how, what's important, what's not important, perception, right? So if you don't have that all kind of process driven, and you're not assessing your staff before you start training them to find out what's really
mm,
going on under the surface, rather than just relying on your perception without using data to fully understand who you're dealing with, you can end up coaching people and training people for teaching them skills solutions to the problem that wasn't even the problem, right?
Yes.
So that's really perceptive that you are noticing that.
Yeah. I know enough to be dangerous.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah.
So, okay. All right. So yeah, that huge. Like then we can go on and on about that. So, but when you think about your own leadership, say
Yeah.
your own leader,
hmm
what's been the hardest adjustment that you've had to make as the company has grown?
I think, well, getting it's the level of leadership and the gaps within ensuring that the vision for the company is able to be translated in such a way that the people that are executing the work can understand and believe how it resonates with them. So, as I come up with new products and structures and modules for our the delivery of, created something called the finance growth engine. It's a modular based system that allows us to be consistent in the service offering that we're delivering. But to ensure that that's meaningful to our team that's delivering it takes a certain level of leadership that I'm building muscle on, as well as explaining to our clients. So people, get afraid with change, that it's especially in the accounting area, and people are nervous with change, and so ensuring that my enthusiasm is able to be translated in such a way that also mitigates people's risk appetite. These are the sorts of things, so a lot of communication is key. Um, but I also see that as the greatest opportunity that we have, because as I work on developing this muscle, we're also creating artifacts and tools to be able to support that story. And the goal is, before long, the story does not need to be told by the founders, that we're able to have many evangelists within our clients, within the ecosystem, within our employee base, that are all telling a consistent story. But I would say that's the biggest challenge, because my background is accounting.
Yeah.
Numbers are my forte. I tend to say that English is my second language, meaning that I'm more comfortable with numbers than words. So that's been my perhaps unique challenge compared to maybe some other business owners that naturally were very good at their story.
You'd be surprised how many people share that same.
Mm,
Like a lot of times, we're a sales driven organization, and what we see often is people that they're either really sharp when it comes to sales and kind of fall back technically, or they're super astute when it comes to technical, numbers, but there's
yes.
gaps in sales. And that's fine. That's what learning's for, right? So the fact that you are able to notice this, that's key, because not everyone can do everything, and you don't have enough time in your day to do everything. So being able to delegate, and you don't need to know the answer to everything, I find, but you
Yes.
do need to know if that looks good or not, right?
Mm-hmm.
To know
Mm-hmm.
the minutia of it, but you need to know if that's good or not. So totally agree. Yeah, that's great. All right. Well, if you could give one piece of advice, just one piece of advice to
Okay.
the Ontario business owner, and there's a lot of them, small,
Yeah.
medium, large, there's a lot, who's just hit a growth ceiling, right? So
Mm,
going well,
mm,
now they hit a ceiling. What would
yeah.
that be?
Well, I would say congratulations, because those are great milestones. I'd also say buckle up, um, take a breath, and know that this is part of the journey. It is not a straight line. Growth is not a hockey stick straight line. It's a bunch of dots. It's more of a circle. And this is the opportunity for the foundation to get even stronger, to build to the next level. So hang tight. I think it's a really great thing, and I like to hype people up when they experience those moments that translate into stress. But I think when you have somebody supporting you that sees the opportunity in it, that can make that a lot, the downside a lot quicker to overcome, and the upside a lot faster to achieve.
Absolutely, right? So like you said, success is not a straight line. It's
hmm
it's time consuming. If everyone could do it, they would, right? So I agree with you.
Absolutely.
Well, I really appreciate your time here. This was
Yeah.
awesome. Lots of really good insight. I think a lot of people will be able to relate to you. So seriously, Susan, I really appreciate your time here. Thank you for being a guest.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I really loved the conversation, and it gave me a lot more to think about too. So thanks so much.
Absolutely.